Yeah, of course, the effects of weather right now cannot be overemphasized. I mean, if you're living in Nigeria right now, whether in the north, in the east, south, or west, you certainly, definitely must be feeling the impacts of the Harmattan season. But that teaser we just played a while ago is to bring to the fore that the realities of climate change and global warming that are therefore also to see, and we also have a responsibility to reduce that impact by ensuring that we adopt best standard practices that tends to reduce or that will cut down emissions into the atmosphere. That's not the focus of the discussions today on TMI. We'll go straight now to look at community policing, which has been described as the key to effective security of lives and properties against the background of recent developments in our country, particularly with the launch of Operation Amotekun in the Western Nigerian. Well, it's actually the Western Nigerian security structure, which of course has been adopted, endorsed, put together by the governors in the southwestern region of the country. But again, it has attracted a whole lot of reactions. And one of them is that from the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice, who was alleged to have said it was illegal, Operation Amotekun illegal. But now it seems to have backtracked to say, well, he actually didn't say that. What he said was that the governors need to approach the court to be able to determine the legality or otherwise of Operation Amotekun. We have in the studio a security expert, as a matter of fact, a criminologist. He was the former Norgay president at the state. I'd like to thank very especially Comrade Young Ilenichina. Comrade, Happy New Year and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's just go straight to the point. From all indications, Operation Amotekun has come to stay in the southwest. There's been misgivings towards it by those in the northeast and maybe in the northern part of this country. These misgivings, are they justifiable?
Well, changes, when there are changes, there's always criticism. Might be right or wrong, based out of fear of the unknown. But I think the proper thing is to allow the Amotekun type of security outfit from the Western Nigeria to take a foot. For instance, the service chiefs came out blue saying, no, it will not work. But you should understand one thing, that the reason for this Amotekun is the breakdown of security. Where people no longer feel secure in their community, where their community are being ravaged, women raped, people kidnapped every day. Where are the service chiefs? People that are killed and maimed, are they not citizens of Nigeria? The governor of these states hold them responsibility. And that is why they've come together to say, look, in our area, we're going to handle this aspect together. I think the concern of the government should not be whether anybody is preventing crime in their area. It should be on the right of citizens to ensure that this Amotekun or this security outfit do not infringe on the rights of citizens, no matter where you are from. But when you have a situation, you've not even seen it happening, and you are just criticizing and saying it is wrong, it's illegal, and all of them, it is, I think, it's something not quite encouraging. The reason is, one will ask, where are these security chiefs when people are kidnapped in those western part of the country? Ritual killings and all of them. Where are the chiefs? Now these people have risen up to say, no, we must defend our people. And they have defined their own role. All you need to do is to sit with them and find out how these things can work. And the Attorney General's major concern should have been protection of the rights of citizens. Not necessarily whoever is putting up any security. We know there are misgivings, political interpretation to it, but the focus should be the right of the citizen to life. They have the right to life. And so if somebody is protecting it, why are the service chiefs coming up? What plan do they have before? in dealing with this.
Okay. The one issue that has come to the fore is the issue of the constitutionality or otherwise of Operation Amotekun. Do you have concerns about that?
Yes. They may raise those constitutional issues. Have they forgotten the constitutional issue of the right to life? That these citizens that have been slaughtered every day, don't they have right to life? The Constitution protects that life. And so the governor of a state is the chief security of that state. His responsibility is to protect the life of the citizens.
Okay.
That is the first constitutional responsibility. So whether the Constitution allow it or don't allow it, the first priority of the governor is to protect the citizens of his own state. It's like a father. People are terrorizing me and I put a fence across. And my neighbor is quarreling, why should I have a fence? Or I have dogs in my compound because of breaking and all the rest. My neighbor is complaining, why should I have a dog? As long as my dogs don't come out to harass you, hey, live with it. Because I have the right to protect lives within my own compound.
Yeah.
So the state governor have the right. So it is where they now infringe on the right of others that the Attorney General will come out and say, no, we must prosecute you, or whoever is involved, not asking them not to protect themselves.
How feasible is the replication of Operation Amotekun in other parts of the country, and what, in your opinion, are the implications?
Well, it depends on the governor. The Western governors did not come up and say, okay, we have this as a blueprint, you can copy it. No. It is a concern. It's the worries of his people. The onslaught of killings. And somebody will blame this one will blame this, and nobody is taking responsibility. I have not seen a police commissioner fired because of the high rate of crime in that state. They are still enjoying themselves, but somebody have died that would have contributed to the growth of this country. So if a governor do not feel it is a priority in their own state, let them live with it. But in area where the governor feels it's a concern, I need to protect my citizens. For instance, like in Edo, where the governor came up with their own, Wabaiziga. It's an outfit he believed, let me strengthen the security. He brought them together, give them, this is all I want, protection of my citizens. So somebody else from maybe in another state will say, why should you do it?
But Wabaiziga, for example, is slightly different in terms of the structure and operation that it has. Amotekun, for example, is made up of not military or not security, I mean the regular security personnel. While Wabaiziga is a mix of army, air force, civil defense, police, and all of that together. Yes.
Yes, as far as they are concerned. For instance, you know, our system of police, the traditional law enforcement of policemen, has a lot of drawbacks. For instance, they are centrally controlled. Now, if you look into, for instance, in Nigeria now, policemen, somebody from Maiduguri, do not know the areas in Ovia or in Oredo.
Okay.
But when you now have, for instance, the Amotekun now, the community, they know their own hinterland. They know the bush parts and all of them. So a stranger can come and pretend to know the community more than themselves. So it is quite different from the Edo type. Because in their own now, they believe, well, the security people have failed us. They contribute. In fact, they turn their faces the other way when things like this are happening. And they adopted a system that they are used to. And they feel, I think the concern of the federal government, non-violation of the right of citizens. As long as their rights are not violated, whether you are a stranger, you are from that part of the country or not, it's safeguarded, their properties are safeguarded. I think they should live with it. They don't have the right to arrest.
Do you recommend the replication of Operation Amotekun in other parts of the country?
No, I do not. The reason is this. It is when the system has failed, people started looking for alternative. Firstly, I think we should adopt the community policing. We may not take to that route. Community-oriented policing will be better. Because in Nigerian setup of the police system, you cannot operate community policing. Because community policing is community-based. That means it's localized. Our own type of police now is the central one, the federal. States don't have police. Local government don't have police.
Yeah.
So you cannot practice that community policing now effectively. Because in cities, in areas, or in countries where this community policing is practicing, the structure of the police is different from our own. You have the federal, for instance, like in US. You have the federal, you have the state, you have the municipal or local, then you have the private police.
Okay.
These are the structures of the police system there. In our we only have one. And so you cannot ask somebody from the federal now who is not used to an environment, because the community policing is community-based. Partnership with the police in ensuring safe community. That is what the focus of that system. That would have been better off for us. For instance, the community-oriented policing. If we have that community-oriented policing, the DPO in a particular area is forced to recognize and know the people around his own base where he can relate to them. He knows them, they know him. The policemen within that area or police post, they know the people in that area. Now they relate. When it comes to crime, they hold meetings together. How do we stop this kind of thing within this community? That is community-oriented.
Okay.
Where the partnership is between the police and the community.
And the people.
And the people in that community.
Okay.
It helps. How will it help? Because in some areas where you have this vigilante, police screen them to make sure miscreants don't fuse into them.
Okay.
And so when you have this vigilante, they relate with the police, they relate with the community where they are doing the vigilante. And if they have issues, they quickly call the police. And the community have vigilante within them, they can easily call on and say, we have an issue. If it's beyond them, they call the police. So I think this type of community-based or oriented policing would be better for us than this having a different outfit.
So what you make of the misgivings towards community policing, particularly against the background that there's a feeling that it could be abused by state governors, as it were?
You see, if you look at the evolution of the police system, first of all, you have the political era. And that era was when the police was now established by the governor or by the president or whatever. Initially, they would do their bidding. But we have the constitution to checkmate it. For instance, they will tell you the governor can use them. Are there no rules? The House of Assembly.
But the governors will make the rules. The House of Assembly will make the rules.
If
you have a one-party state, so to speak, the governor and the legislators, they belong to one party. You can rest assured that whatever the governor says, that's what the legislators will do.
No, it doesn't work that way. We have areas where people are practicing it and they are still practicing it.
Okay.
Do they abuse it? No. You see, it's just a misgiving that we are used to one culture and it should continue. But if the culture is failing, there's a need to try something else. We can do it this way. For instance, you have the Amotekun right in the west.
Yeah.
The central is say, okay, we want to do community policing. Then the south can say, we want to do community-oriented policing. These are forms of policing, security outfits.
Okay.
Now, if Edo on is working, Edo or the south is working, fine, we replicate it in other areas. But in a situation where you have not even tried the alternative and you are just saying there's no need for it. So there are areas where it worked. For instance, the one we have now is the law enforcement, a reactive form of policing.
So that's not policing, is that what you're saying?
No, it's policing, but the reactive form of it is not preventive.
Yeah.
The reason is you only just stay in the desk and somebody will lay a complaint to you, you go and arrest. Or you respond, or you say we have no vehicle.
Maybe there's a distress call.
Yes, you now move on and say we don't have fuel. But in community policing, those things don't come up. Because the police are resident in that area, in that vicinity. And so when you call, the first call is from them for a backup. Because set with them, they are ready to react within the community.
Okay.
But in a situation where none of them have even been tried and somebody just comes and says, no, governors will abuse it, there should be checkmate. The federal government is there to defend the constitution and say, no, you are abusing this. We won't take it this way. So there should be laid down structure on how one will checkmate the other. Outright saying it's not going to work, we remain in this old traditional way of policing, will not help us. And again, the retraining of the police. If you want to start off community policing, it will start from the training school. the level of education must change. Because community policing is more or less like social service. Policemen are seen in the beat. For instance, they go in pair every evening on foot patrol. Community policing requires that you don't stay in your patrol car. You walk around the community, you get to know them. John, how are you doing? I've not seen you for a long time. Because you are used to the neighborhood. And so if there's a problem, somebody can come to you and say, look, we have a problem.
Yeah.
We just have a criminal in this area. That man don't have a job, and I'm suspecting him. Are you getting this community policing? But nobody will come to a police station and make that statement to you. So this is community policing. So let us try something else. If what we have been doing has been failing us. They came up with fire for fire, freeze, different form of policing, the name they give to it.
Reactive structure.
They are still reactive, no proactive.
Okay.
No preventive in those measures. Okay, you see them displaying police vehicles, ammo, those are reactive. Put the police in the community. For instance, recently in Edo or in Benin, we heard of this killing here and there over one thing or the other. How many arrests was made? What plan do the police have to checkmate those hot spots? For instance, in 3rd Circle at Sakomba Junction, as from 5, 6, 7, pocket picking is rampage there. They snatch your phone. Complaints are made to the police. What effort are they making to ensure that that evening, you see like Wabaizigan is parked very close to the junction of 3rd. Any person, any miscreant seeing the police will say, oh no, these guys are here. They will change location. This is how you track them. But when police don't have this proactive, preventive thinking, all they do is reactive. Blow siren along. No, you just park and walk. Come out of the car, you are watching people passing. No one will want to misbehave. Yeah. It's like when the father of the house is at home, everybody keeps to their corner.
Yeah.
But when he's not at home, what happens? Children will start jumping on chairs. So that's what happened with criminals. So police should have the record, know this hot spot where these things are done. Ring road area. Get 2 policemen on patrol, foot patrol, not car patrol.
All right. What's your take? Because it looks like, whether we like it or not, there's been a semblance of community policing. Perhaps we need to deepen it or strengthen it. I'm aware of Vigilante Group of Nigeria. They operate in different parts of the state and in the country. What do you make of that as maybe a precursor for the establishment of community policing?
Well, it's a very welcome, good idea to have that. You see, whether we like it or not, we are practicing decentralized policing. You're only just calling them vigilante. It's the local police. It's the name. They have, in some local government, they have weapons.
Yes.
They hold single barrel guns.
Yes.
And when I see them on the course of driving, I feel secure because I know within a circle there or within this community there, they are our people. If I'm in the Asian area, I'll say, but they are here. If I'm in the Benin area, I'll say, Domo. You know, if you are in the other, Mo, and not the rest, because they are localized. And so, when there is miscreant in that area, they know the terrain very well. Okay. And where the police cannot dare in, they go in because they know the terrain. Yeah. So I think we are gradually evolving into that. And within the Benin again, you see some communities having vigilante on guard in the night.
Yes.
And again, the police, what the governor need to do now, he has started it up, is to encourage the police to decentralize their operation. Apart from giving them vehicle, let there be foot patrol in hotspot area. Some time ago, we were having these policemen on horseback. We have them on bike. We have them on bicycle. Where in the evening, the 2 of them can be riding bicycle around the ring road area. They are watching, knowing fully well that every 5 minutes a policeman will pass. Yeah. It creates preventive measure among us that we, the citizens, feel secured. A policeman is around, or you just blow a whistle, or you raise alarm. Within 3 minutes, they are there.
Okay.
I think that would be better for us.
All right. On a final note, rather than have these multiplication of different security structures or architecture for different regions as it is, what do you make if we have more men and women engaged by the Nigerian police, as it were now, and then expose them to more training, and then equip them for them to be able to be more preventive, rather than being reactive in their operation? How would that go?
You see, there is no way, if you like, you increase more police. It won't solve the problem because of the structure. It's like if I'm bow-legged, there's no way, no matter the pants I wear, that will straighten the leg, except that structure is taken care of.
Okay.
For instance, in New York, 1993, they increased the police force. It reduces crime in some area temporarily. But because it was not community-based, heinous crime were being committed, another area went up. Violation of citizens' rights went up. It was not community-based. In Boston, the same thing. Those ones applied the community policing. In New Orleans, where you have a hot crime area in New Orleans, when they practice community policing, the crime rate went down. Because it involves business owners who want to protect their property.
Yeah.
It involves responsible citizens who want a secured environment to raise their children. So in our own, the structure has a problem. The National Assembly, we're almost facing it the other day, have a state police. They have the local police. Divide their functions. This particular crime is state police crime.
Okay.
When it's beyond this, it becomes the federal. If it is like this, it becomes the local. The local cannot operate outside their local government council.
Yeah.
The state police cannot operate in Ondo. You have to inform them. So these are structures you put in place. Then every council will now, every set of it, whether state, local, will strengthen their own. But the fear of saying, no, state police is good, it will be politicized. Look at the origin of policing. It was politically oriented.
Yeah.
Until we started evolving. We got to law enforcement. Now we are now looking at humane policing. The law enforcement, the one we have now, is not humane. And so the training, educational level, because when you are dealing with community policing, you are looking like social service.
Yeah.
Policeman will come up playing ball with children in their playground just to ensure that I get used to them. Which policeman will do that now? Because the orientation is roadblock, stop and seizure, do this, open your boot. That's the culture.
Yeah.
So to just increase more police, you increase the problem. The thing is the orientation, retraining. Then again, let us try the state, federal, and local police. It will work.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Young Ilanikhina. Comrade Young Ilanikhina is a criminologist, even though he's been there in the labor world throughout his stay in the service, retired now, and is into full-time security consultancy. I want to thank you again for sharing some useful thought with us on security issues. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
It's the TMI Monday. We'll take a short break. We'll be back to continue our discussion. This time, we're looking at, as political parties strategize ahead of 2020, what should we expect? We know that just around the corner, parties will start having their primaries. What are the expectations? And we need to start setting agenda in that direction. So join us again right after this break.